Welcome to the Patrick Real Estate Show, where we explore the fascinating world of real estate investing with your host, Patrick Switek. Patrick is a dynamic young entrepreneur and an accomplished real estate investor who's passionate about helping others achieve financial freedom. Each week, we sit down with some of the most inspiring individuals in the real estate industry and delve into their personal journeys, lessons learned, and secrets to their success. Let's dive into this week's episode.
Welcome to the Patrick Real Estate Show, Ben. Just a quick introduction on Ben before we get into the rest of his awesome accomplishments, everything he's done. Ben is the co-founder and developer of Onera, a luxury treehouse resort in Texas Hill Country. Also, it has an experiential hospitality firm called Oasi, which develops and manages $65 million portfolio of just resorts, boutique hotels, and luxury retreats. And honestly, we don't really have any agenda for what we're going to talk today, but I really want to just bring Ben in and just pick his brain on everything he's done, his experience in the experiential hospitality space and the luxury, unique stays and that kind of thing, and just really get to know Ben a little bit more on a deeper level. But without further ado, I'll let Ben take a hit at it. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Patrick. Yeah, pleasure to hop on and looking forward to the conversation.
100%. So tell me, Ben, were you always in hospitality the moment that you came out of the womb? You're like, yeah, hospitality, this is what I'm going to do. Or how did that kind of mold in your life?
Yeah, so from pretty early on, I liked hosting people, whether that was, house parties or events and venues that I'd help put on events and help promote, bring people to. I think I was always interested in helping people have a good time and showing them a really good time. In early age, I was definitely interested in hosting and helping people have a good time. And then that sort of progressed post-college, post my first job at McKinsey. I started building a small Airbnb portfolio and started hosting more formally through real estate and through stays. Built up a 200-unit portfolio under management between 2018 and end of 2019. And then when COVID hit, that urban short-term rental business really took a massive hit and stepped back. And that's what really pushed me to get into this more experiential, outdoor-focused, luxury landscape hotel space where I find myself now. And that's where I've really found my true passion for delivering one-of-a-kind experiences.
Cool. So you got intrigued by this space, but what's more to it? Like, what was the first thing that you really did in the first experiential hospitality real estate that you pursued? And how did that come about? Talk about the deal.
Yeah, so talk about how I started with Onera and built up that property. Yeah. So look, in terms of the concept and the idea, I had a friend of mine who's actually a business partner of mine now, Jesse Comley, who had a compound in Joshua Tree. And this was pretty early on, 2016 or 2017. He bought his land out there and they had an Airstream and an RV, a retired Cessna airplane that was really just an art sculpture. So all these unique stays, and he was doing really well. So that kind of piqued my interest. And then me and my wife, after we got married, we went on honeymoon around the southwestern US, and we saw a dozen national parks in 6 weeks. And it was amazing, waking up in these amazingly scenic locations with mesas and these beautiful sunsets across canyons, really unbelievable landscapes. However, we were in an RV and we were constantly dealing with issues with the RV. So part of the idea around Onera was, how do we create all the comforts of home, make it as frictionless as an experience as possible, and how do we deliver that? And that's where the idea for Onera came. There was also a ton of more like mid-tier product in the market at that time, like Under Canvas, Auto Camp, not really, you're still roughing it to some extent, either in a small unit like Auto Camp or without temperature control when it comes to something like Auto Canvas.
Ben, could you elaborate more on Auto Camp for the people that don't know?
Yeah, Auto Camp is, I think it's a great product. It's a little more mid-tier than Onera. They have essentially these Airstream hotels with 30, 40, 50 Airstreams. I think they also have cabins and some tents as well. Right. And then their big thing is really catered more towards groups, I would say. And they have these big sort of lodge amenity areas that are good kind of communal spaces to gather. Whereas Onera is very couples focused and very like romantic getaway focused. And it was really a strong play during COVID, right? Because everyone wanted their seclusion, their privacy, their own little bubble. And it was a great time to build and launch during COVID. So yeah, during 2020, I started looking for land. My first 2 or 3 properties.
Is this your first real estate deal, by the way? Like you've never done any real estate deals before this?
This was my first real estate development deal. Yes.
Wow.
We had bought a few single family homes and as part of the short-term rental portfolio, but most of those were leased or just managed units. But yeah, in 2020, started looking for land, delved into this world of real estate development and hotel development, which was trial by fire. It was like drinking from a fire hose.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, so I looked at three pieces of land, all of which, one of them got scooped out from underneath me. Like I just wasn't fast enough, and I never let that happen again. Like every other place I found, I've got under contract like within a day or two of seeing it and of it really hitting the market. Another one, we got into due diligence and found something in the deed restrictions that was going to limit us. So that was a lesson learned in terms of trying to look at that stuff as early as possible and spend as little as possible before getting there.
Ben, before you keep going, sorry to interrupt, but what are some of the criteria that you were looking at? Because you're talking about deed restrictions and whatnot. Can you talk maybe about the criteria that you look for when developing a unique hotel experience that you were going for?
Yeah, so I have 3 primary factors that I look at today. And I think in large part, I was looking at the same factors when I started. And that can be a wooded, beautiful landscape view. It can be a view of some water feature. It could be long hill country views or mountain views. So really just a beautiful natural setting to have my landscape or your landscape hotel. And so that's one of them. Another one is a water feature. Now, originally I was thinking that had to be like a river or a stream, creek, pond, ocean, but I've come around to building man-made or enhanced water features. So even if your site doesn't have a water feature, like you can build something that looks like a natural grotto or a waterfall or something that really looks natural.
So you built waterfalls. That is wild. Do you know how wild that sounds?
So we actually haven't done it yet, but if anyone wants to look at the cliffs at Hocking Hills in Ohio, I think they have some really good examples of enhanced water features. Now, I don't know how much of their stuff was already there and wasn't, but I know for sure that they dialed it up and enhanced it quite a bit. And I think some of their water features, what was that?
So they took something that was existing in terms of water feature and they developed around it to make it more pristine.
They did, or to enhance it. So I know one of their water features, it's basically this like sheet of rock, and they must have done some sort of recirculating pump and pulling from a well or something along those lines to have water kind of sheet flowing across this rock wall that looks like this beautiful shallow waterfall effectively. And they have a natural pool where it looks one side is fully natural and it's a rock basin, but there's clearly a retaining wall that's built on one side but still made to look natural to hold the water. Wow. So I think there's really interesting things you can do with enhanced or even fully man-made but natural looking water features.
So could you hypothetically put a pond in an Airbnb or short-term rental and make it look natural like it was already there? Or have you looked into this at all? I'm just curious, like how much that even costs to do something like that?
Yes, you definitely can. It certainly helps if you have a starting point. Even Isaac French with Live Oak Lake, it was basically like a mud pool, effectively, from what I've seen. So he put in aerifiers to help clean up the water and basically cleaned up the pond. I don't think he actually added a liner, but you could add a liner if you wanted to. So there's definitely ways that you can enhance what's existing. Building from scratch, it's not cheap, right? So you need a number of keys and a certain ADR and really like revenue potential to make it worth it to put that in. But I think those water features really drive revenue. A unit that might do $400 a night might do $550 if you have this one of a kind water feature that helps you go viral on Instagram.
Wow. So when you think about Instagram, like we're going to touch a little bit more on that, but I'm curious, when you go into these spaces and you're looking at the land and with the potential of the land, you said views is one of them, right? Which is important, right? You want a beautiful view when you wake up, beautiful sunset, whatever the case may be. One other thing you mentioned is the water feature, right? Having some kind of enhanced water feature of sorts. Now, curious, do you ever come in with the eye of, before you even see anything done yet, you start looking at the ideas of what it could be from an Instagram virality standpoint or from a social media virality standpoint? Does that ever come to mind?
100%. When we first started building, I think that Instagram and social media was a little bit more of an afterthought. And it just so happens that we stumbled upon that Instagram was an incredible, effectively booking platform and engine for us. So once we realized that, now, all future projects, it's totally with Instagram and video and content in mind, front and center. How do we create something that is like picture perfect made for social media and has the potential to go viral and relatively easily potential to go viral, right? Yeah, we think about that all the time in terms of, we have this new metric when it comes to views. If the views aren't so amazing that when I bring somebody to the property, they aren't like impulsively compelled to whip their phone out and take a video or a photo, then they're probably not good enough. Yeah, exactly. We're definitely big view hunters at this point and constantly trying to level up when it comes to the dramatic and beautiful views.
That's hilarious.
Yep.
So curious, now that you said Instagram is a big booking platform for you, does that ever translate into bookings? Have you guys seen the conversion rate? And what percentage of your bookings are from platforms versus from direct booking?
Yeah, so we do a vast majority now direct, almost all driven through organic social media. So we're just starting to experiment with paid ads, but historically it's been pretty much all Instagram and pretty much all organic. So our own content that we're producing or influencers and creators, right, that may do a collab post or a giveaway or something like that. And when we opened, it was 0% direct. We were only on Airbnb. Then when I got a little more hip to the booking direct through Instagram game, in 2022, our first full year of operation, we did 30 to 35% direct. And then the year after that, we did 75 to 80% direct. So really leaned into social. And half of my team is now on the media and content side. It's really become a really big part of the business.
Wow. I have to dig in. I know we're talking about the deal, but I have to dig in on this. Media and content, explain kind of the roles of the team members and what you hire for, how do you push stuff on social media to create that virality, and what does your team really do to push those direct bookings?
Yeah, the team essentially consists of shooters, editors, creative, right? Folks that are helping to storyboard and figure out the kind of content that we want. And our shooters also help with that. We have social media manager and a VA assistant helping that social media manager. So it's a pretty robust team. And then my partner, Jesse, really runs that whole department and that whole team. And that is something that's a team that not only does the social media for Onera, and that would be quite a lot for just that team, right? It would be very expensive. It would probably be cost prohibitive.
I was going to say.
Yeah, when you spread that team across a few properties, which we have, and we're going to continue to spread across more, we also have some third-party clients. So we'll do social media management and driving bookings direct for third parties as well. Then it starts to make a little more sense. But effectively, the strategy is, or has been currently, like build the audience largely through relevant, targeted influencers with an engaged following. So you don't want necessarily a fitness influencer or something like that. You want more of a travel influencer, maybe a foodie, because there's good crossover to hospitality with foodies. And you want a high engagement rate. So typically we're targeting like 5% plus engagement, which is quite high. Industry standard is more like
explain engagement 1 to 2 for people. Just what do you benchmark as engagement? What are the metrics?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of like engagement calculators that you can use online. So I would try a number of those, but effectively it's some combination of like how many views, likes, reshares, things like that you're getting for your posts on average. So effectively that's what it is. You want an engaged audience. You don't want, obviously, a bunch of fake followers or a bunch of followers that are not super interested or engaged with the content. First, it's finding the right influencers, working with them to grow your audience and drive bookings directly. And then really the second pillar is producing really high quality content on your side, right? Or working with a company, an agency that does that. And yeah, we've had a lot of success with that. From analytics we have, the bookings that we drive are roughly now 50-50 between our organic content, mostly reels that we're producing, and the influencer collaborations that we're doing. So yeah, both are hugely important and they feed each other, right? The influencers really grow the audience, and you can think of the organic reels as sometimes growth when we get a viral reel, but a lot of times it's more of a almost like an email campaign, right? It's a reminder about Onera and a reminder for them to keep us top of mind and to book the next time they want to do a romantic getaway or something like that. So
keep engaging the audience, right? With that, is there a formula or is there a thing that you work with the UGC creators to curate? Like, do you have strict guidelines for what they should be shooting or how they should be presenting, or do you just let them go?
So with the good creators, they usually have a pretty distinct style that's cohesive with their page and how they do things. And we try to work around that. Certainly we have some parameters that we require. But typically we want them to do what they're best at and what they've learned works for them in their account and is on brand for them. So if it's on brand for us, then maybe we'll do a collab post and it'll show up on our page as well. But if not, then they can always do the post. It doesn't necessarily show up on our main page, but we still get the engagement from their audience. So there's different ways that we do it. One thing that I would... Go ahead.
Go on.
I was just gonna say one thing I would mention when we're constantly iterating our organic content and the reels that we're creating and what works. We're students of the game, right? Continuously trying to figure out what's going to engage the most, what's going to have the highest potential to go viral. And we've been toying with some things recently. Like, I'll throw out some nuggets. One is really obvious, but a lot of people miss it. You need to up front and center talk to your target audience. So we put out a lot of these beautiful videos, and maybe even would get some traction and go viral, but they might not correspond to bookings or to followers because somebody will see it and they won't even know it's in Texas. Maybe we didn't put Texas at the thumbnail, or the first part of the video doesn't say that it's in Texas or Fredericksburg. So somebody that lives here may not even know that is here. They may think that Instagram is just serving them up something from somewhere else. So it's interesting how many folks miss that of you have to like really hit the nail on the head up front to engage someone and tell them, hey, this is for you. You could actually stay here, right? This is in your backyard. So that's one tidbit, and there's countless others that we've uncovered over the last 8-9 months where we built up this team internally.
So are you talking about in the hook, mentioning like best place to visit in Joshua Tree, for example, or whatever?
Exactly, yeah. Upfront in the hook, writing that it's Texas or Fredericksburg, Texas, so that people that live in Texas and might want to stay know that it's there. Otherwise, they might watch the video and think, oh, that's cool, but have no idea that it's somewhere close to them that they could easily drive to.
Do you think that's like a call out in a way? I know that in digital marketing or paid ads, there's this huge initiative on making a call, hey, attention real estate investors, or attention people of California, or whatever. So you feel like the ad is for you, or that piece of content is for you, so you continue to watch it. Maybe there's something psychological there.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's about that call out, at least when it comes to location and some other specifics, being very upfront and center, right? Not waiting till the end of the video, not just being in the caption. Like, it needs to, because you're just scrolling, right? You may not even watch the full video, but if it's up front and center and, oh, this is speaking to me, I live here, or this is somewhere I could go or would like to go, then it hooks you and allows you to watch, or makes you want to watch the whole video, right?
For sure. Cool. That's a cool little tidbit. And then what have you seen across, because it seems like a big part of your strategy is social media and pushing the unique stay, obviously. Do you think that unique stays do well on Airbnb as well? Or do you think that they do a lot better through direct bookings and through marketing campaigns and all like social media and things of that nature?
They do fantastic on Airbnb. It's just a matter if you want to give up 11 or 12% off the top, and if you don't want to own the customer. So we think it's extraordinarily valuable to own the customer, be able to retarget them, market to them for future locations, email campaigns, all that. And then when it comes to, retargeting, building. Oh yeah, and of course. So the other piece of it is the platform fees, right? Which everyone thinks of first. So there's that 15% platform fee, whether it's Airbnb or Booking.com, or they all have similar fees. And you're going to have to pay the 3% either way. But that 11 or 12% delta goes straight to our bottom line, right? Like we scoop that. Right. We're not providing a big discount for guests to book direct, if a discount at all. We actually find that guests that we reach direct through social media are less price sensitive than an Airbnb shopper, for example, because they're not comparing prices on the same screen.
That's very true. When you go on Airbnb, you have a plethora of options, as opposed to when you're going to something that's either yes or no. It's like the page. Either yes, you want to book with this price, or you don't want to book. There's no other options on that page. So that kind of focused on that. So where do you build out your landing pages and all of that for your campaigns? Do you have a platform that you use?
There's a mix, and I wouldn't want to get into the full details because I know we have a full suite of products that we use, and it's ever changing. So I would want to get my team probably more involved in that. But I know for my personal stuff, we use ConvertKit quite a bit, but I know they're using a whole suite of tools for Onera.
Cool. Awesome. I know the social media stuff is exciting, but let's go back to that moment where you were looking for that perfect piece of land. We talked about the water features. We talked about the views. They have to pull out their phone no matter what, Ben. And if they don't pull out their phone, Ben looks at it and says, nope, this is not the land. Cool. Move on. All right, cool. So what else is the criteria for the land from a maybe legal standpoint? Is there anything there that you look at?
The final one I wanted to mention is location, right? And everyone says location, right, when you're talking about real estate. Mm-hmm. And I do think that matters. I used to think it actually matters more than I think now. So Onera Fredericksburg is a mile from Main Street Fredericksburg, which is a big attraction, a big driving destination in Texas, tons of restaurants, shops, history, and being a mile away from there has a lot of value. Our second location in Wimberley has another bustling sort of town square and super fun area at Wimberley Square and Cypress Creek, which is just a couple miles from Onera Wimberley, our second location. Right. Now, from looking at Live Oak Lake and some of these other properties that I've seen that are a little bit in the middle of nowhere, or they don't have as much of a cool draw or attractions nearby, but if you create a one-of-a-kind experience, the property is truly remarkable, right? The views are the best you're going to find. The water feature is just out of this world. Then you can still attract a ton of guests and customers, assuming that you're within easy access to major metros and considerable wealth and disposable income, right? So as long as you're within a couple hours, and can even be as much as 3 to 4 hours of major metros with considerable GDP, then you can drive traffic if your property, your location, your views, your units are truly one of one and viral.
Got it. So it's all about, even though that's not a really big travel destination per se. The Texas Hill, I feel like Texas Hill Country is a huge travel destination.
Texas Hill Country is a big travel destination. So what I'm saying is that I've seen other properties that are not in these massive tourist destinations that have done really well just because they have a super Instagrammable, viral, amazing product. So we're actually willing to look a little bit farther out now. It might still be hill country, right? But it's 20 minutes from Wimberley or from Fredericksburg instead of right next door. But the views are twice as good. So there's some give and take with that. One example we're looking at right now, there's an area southwest of Miami that I'm working on my next project to build a tropical landscape resort, okay? And the region definitely has some tourist traffic. It's 20 minutes from the Everglades. You'll be like 20 minutes probably or so from a kind of more bustling town with restaurants and whatnot. But the vibe and what we're creating is more in and of the property itself. So it's this tropical oasis with grottos, and we need to have a little bit more of a food and beverage offering when we're a little farther out. So we don't have that at Onera, but at this property, which is actually going to be called Oasi, which you mentioned earlier. So this Oasi tropical landscape resort is going to have a farm-to-table cafe and juicery, an exotic fruit farming component, an event space, a pool and limited service spa. So it's more of a all-encompassing resort destination, and it's about the landscape and how amazing the units are, and less about, you're 5 minutes from some tourist attraction.
Got it. So you could still pull people if it's unique enough.
100%.
Hey, can I make that extra drive to this destination, I would if there's something compelling there to drive me there. That makes sense.
Yep.
Cool. So you got the land, right? Now, how did you get the development done? Like, let's talk about that. Did you raise money? Did you have money from your job? Walk me through that.
Yeah, so I mentioned that I had that short-term rental management company. So there was some cash flow coming in from that, and we used some of that money as some of the equity into the first Onera Fredericksburg development. It also helped us secure the debt. So I talked to 20 local banks and got a whole bunch of no's, 19 no's, and finally found a bank that was willing to take a chance on me and on the concept. Really liked the idea of Onera, really liked the market, which was Fredericksburg, and they took a flyer on us. But we had the operating company, the short-term rental management company, to guarantor it, help provide some of the equity. I called on friends and family to fill out the equity effectively. And I had clients that I had made happy with the short-term rental management business. So like I was managing their places, they were making money. So it was an easy call to say, hey, I want to do this new concept. Do you want to put some money into that? So it's always having some sort of track record, some sort of relationship certainly makes it a lot easier to raise money. And once we raised the money for Onera Fredericksburg, actually 6 or 7 months into development, we raised a broader real estate fund that was then used for that property, the second Onera location, and a hotel we did in Palm Springs. And we rolled the Onera Fredericksburg project into that fund. And it worked out really well because Onera was opening within a few months of when we rolled it in. So the fund didn't have to wait a year for us to develop.
Cool. So so I was going to ask, how long did it take to develop Onera? How did that go?
Yeah. So we bought the land in December 2020. We started building in January of 2021, and we opened our doors in mid-November of 2021. So, 11 or so months, which is pretty remarkable, in hindsight. And future projects, we do quite a bit more planning to have the project go more efficiently and not to sort of go over budget and get delays and all the things that I had to deal with on my first project. Definitely try to work smarter and make sure all of our ducks in a row before breaking ground now.
For sure. Wow, 11 months? That's actually really quick. Some of my rehabs go over budget, over timeline, and they're like 11 months, I feel like. So you did development that way. Where did you source the unique aspects of this development? How did you know where to go, where to find everything? Did you work with the local architect? How did that go?
Yeah, so on Onera Fredericksburg, I worked with a custom treehouse building firm called Artistry, and we worked together to concept the Monarch, which is one of our most noteworthy units. It's a treehouse shaped like a butterfly, effectively.
Oh, cool.
And then the Spyglass unit, which is more of a tube-shaped treehouse, they had already developed, and we basically purchased the rights to use it at Onera Fredericksburg. And it was their first one, even though they had developed the concept, so they were pretty excited to show it to the world. And then the rest of the units, we actually sourced from a variety of suppliers in China, which I actually just did a newsletter about this. I would not do that again. It was probably I think it was the biggest mistake that I made in my development of Onera Fredericksburg. So it was typical penny wise, pound foolish, trying to skimp, cut corners, and thought that we could save a couple $100,000. Turns out it was during COVID, that Suez Canal disaster that was going on, and our shipment got delayed 2 months. We ended up paying, tariffs went through the roof. So what was originally $200,000 in savings became $120,000 when our tariff and shipping costs jumped by $80,000. And the 2 months delays and lost revenue, that's like another couple $100,000 right there. All told, it was hundreds of thousands of dollars of losses associated with this decision to try to save a buck by sourcing from China when we didn't have strong relationships, we didn't have boots on the ground, like doing quality control. One of the units that came, we literally had to throw out because it was totally against the spec that we had given, and it wasn't going to fit the site or the vibe at all, and there was no real fixing it in a way that was going to look good. So we basically had to throw it out and source another safari tent. It was very stressful. It was one of the hardest things I've had to overcome as a developer. Just make sure your suppliers, your manufacturers. We lost thousands of dollars in labor trying to retrofit all these pieces that didn't come with instructions, and there was stuff broken and just incorrect. So it was a nightmare, and something I will never do again unless I have a very strong local partner that can do the quality control, that has an amazing track record. And for me, it's going to be a high barrier to work with somebody like that just because I've been burned so hard.
So that is actually really interesting. Anybody that cuts corners, even in short-term rental like development, just single family homes, I've seen the owners that cut corners are the ones that struggle the most. The house is like breaking down every time, like they're not making money. It's, dude, if you would have just done this right, you would have made way more money. You would have not had to go retroactively fixing everything. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Never go cheap, never cut corners on this kind of stuff. Just get it done. And even if it's over budget, it's better than going cheap and screwing yourself, shooting yourself in the foot. So that's awesome. Good advice, at least. That's not awesome though in the moment, I'm sure, but it's good. It's good advice and it's good learning moving forward. So cool. So you built this, you launched Onera, right? How did the public react to Onera? Did they just love it right away? Like you made one reel and it blew up and Onera was viral, or was it a churn, testing? Like, how did that work?
Yeah, so we had success out the gate just with Airbnb, right? We were doing $500 plus ADR and 90% occupancy on a lot of our units just out the gate on Airbnb with minimal reviews, just because our product was so novel and the photos were so cool that people just were compelled to book. And we really stood out against the other Airbnb listings. I think a lot of times they actually had us on the front page when they were really pushing unique stays and like the oh my God category and all that. We were often on the front page, which was great. But it was later, a few months later, that I had a creator, influencer by the handle of Texas Explorer on Instagram, who was hitting me up on Airbnb. Hey, can I come showcase your property? Maybe do a giveaway. And I dismissed it for a bit and then finally said, all right, let's give it a try. We spun up a direct booking website and had her come out to do a giveaway. And that first giveaway, we did, I don't know, it was somewhere between 10 to 15,000 in bookings for that first giveaway, which didn't cost us anything besides the giving away a couple of nights free stay. And we had her come back a month later. She was launching a new account and we had the same results. And so after seeing that, really started to get a little more serious about social. I was managing the account on the side on my own, and I could only devote so much time to it with everything else I had going on. So that year was mostly relying on inbound influencer interest and referrals. And so we worked with a whole bunch of influencers in that first year that did amazingly well for us. And we did anywhere from 30 to 35% of our bookings direct. But it was really the following year in 2023 when we really decided to double down and actually tried to hire an agency. That didn't go super well. I was doing better just on my own with my limited knowledge, just because I think I cared more and was more involved. So then after trying with the agency is when we built the team in-house in April of 2023. And that's when we really took off. So we went from 18,000 followers to now we're right around 60,000 in 9 months. Whereas the prior year and a half, I had only got us up to 15,000, and the agency only added an incremental like 3,000 in the few months that they were managing it. So yeah, we almost tripled. Yeah, we about tripled in less than a year.
That is the power of having actually people on your team that care about what you're doing and are bought into the vision. That's awesome. Yeah. I have in-house social media people too. I gotta show them this podcast and have them watch what you're doing. But cool, man. So cool. Onera was one of many, and Oasi is this new venture or the new thing that you're working on that it's a $65 million fund, I believe. So with that, can you talk a little bit more about that and the Miami project and like what you're building with that?
Yeah, sure. So just to be clear, Oasi currently is managing $65 million in boutique hotels, luxury retreats, and landscape hotels. So that's like the existing portfolio, and we manage a number of different properties and do the marketing and
company.
Yeah, the marketing and social media as well. Oasi also acts as a development company, and we are working on this tropical landscape resort, which will also be branded Oasi. That property, the budget's $53 million, so not too far off, actually. It's a sizable project. It's almost as big as the entire portfolio that Oasi is currently managing, but it is it's a little more catered to groups than Onera, right? So we're going to have an event space, a sizable one, like I said, limited service spa, food and beverage offering, so like a cafe and juicery and these exotic fruit farming experiences on site. So it's much more catered to corporate retreats, wellness retreats, weddings, things like that, as well as the sort of bread and butter couples getaways that we've always targeted. And the Oasi concept in South Florida it's really bringing this like Costa Rica, Bali, Tulum style experience stateside. Think like tropical jungle, exotic fruit forest mixed with these one-of-a-kind amazing like luxe treehouse bungalows and with private grottos and natural pools and waterfalls and just this otherworldly experience that you can't really get in the States today. And it's 45 minutes from Miami Airport, right? So very accessible. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to ask, how do you build a team for that? Like, how do you find the right contractors who can actually build out that experience, right? Because it's very experiential at this point. It's not just, oh, your regular old contract and go in and build a hole and call it a freaking pond. It's like, it takes a lot of work. So curious, what kind of team does that take to assemble something like this?
Yeah, so I have an amazing GC, JB Chisholm. This guy by the name of Banks Chisholm started it, and they are amazing. They're based in Texas, but have done work all over the country, have done work all over the world. And he's involved in every project that I do. He may not fully GC every project we do, but he's involved. He's helping with the means and methods. Because what we're building is so unique, he's helping to identify and vet the consultants and local GC or local subcontractors that we're working with. And so, yeah, you need somebody like that. I don't have a deep construction expertise background, so have a great partner there. And it's really about finding the right consultants and disciplines. And sometimes it's about finding the specialist, and sometimes it's about finding the young, hungry, capable contractor or subcontractor that is solution oriented and problem solving oriented, as opposed to just, I do things one way in my box and that's it. Right? That doesn't really work for the kind of construction that we do. We push the envelope. We try to do things that haven't been done before. So we need people that come with a can-do attitude and get excited about the prospect of doing something that hasn't been done before.
I love that. So it's just having really just the right team, and you're not afraid to partner with people and really make it happen. So cool. With this Miami, one thing that you mentioned about the Miami experience that I think was really interesting was the fact that it was very experiential. And it's this whole concept of experiential hospitality. Let's dive more into that. What do you think that's something that a lot of hosts and Airbnb hosts are lacking or not really doing? Or is this something that's a new trend? Do you think this is going to be the new thing? Or do you think this is going to be just dead in the next couple of years? Like, how do you look at that?
So our mission at Oasi is innovating hospitality for the modern traveler. So that's what we're trying to do. And we really believe that this whole experiential travel, leaning into high design and uniqueness, and being more tech-enabled, right? Less staff, but still a seamless, great experience. That's where hospitality is going, and that's what people want. Millennial, Gen Z, the younger generations, that's what they're gravitating towards. And we want to help deliver that, because most of the hospitality product out there is relatively boring, stale, hasn't changed in decades, right? And it's these big box hotels that it's the same room whether you're in Boston or Miami, right? Maybe there's some different art and plants, but it's effectively the same room. And we think that uniqueness and leaning into the natural landscape and vibe is important. Now, when it comes to Airbnb hosts and short-term rental hosts, I think that the innovative, forward-thinking, ambitious ones are going to be the ones that help upend and innovate the hospitality world, coming to market with these like super cool, unique boutique hotel products. I think the big brands are like doing things at the margin, right? They're doing, we're doing a partnership with Peloton, or there's like these things that they're doing that are, I don't know if you've ever heard the like 6-minute abs. It's like there's a 7-minute ad workout and then, we're going to give you 6-minute abs, right? So it's marginal improvements, but it's not fully upending, because that's too foreign to them. And there's some folks like Starwood Capital, I think, that are investing in pretty unique and cutting edge hospitality offerings, but I think that's the minority. And Airbnb hosts and these sort of rentalpreneurs or hosterpreneurs, right? I think they're going to be the ones, the ambitious ones that can execute are going to be the ones to bring these very unique, innovative hospitality concepts to market. And I think they're going to do extremely well. And I don't view it as like a zero-sum game of cutthroat competition. I think that there's so much room and demand for this type of hospitality product that I am very supportive of other folks trying to build something similar to Onera or something else that's very experiential and innovative. Live Oak Lake. Isaac French, for example, he's a good buddy of mine. We're like contemporaries. We get together periodically, talk shop, and I hosted him for his anniversary. He hosted me and my wife. It's cool I think we all rise with the tide, right? That's how I look at it. So.
Wait, what's that phrase again? It's like water rises, or
I think it's like all ships rise with the tide or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, I know the phrase you're talking about. Everyone says it a little differently. So what's interesting about the experiential aspect of things is I'm in Joshua Tree. So the compound story really resonates with me. Joshua Tree is a very open piece of landmass where you could just do pretty much anything you want. So there's all these really unique structures that we manage around 53 now. So we get a wide variety of experiential stays. The one interesting one that was a friend of mine in the Joshua Tree area. He owns a horse sanctuary and he's a rancher. He loves horses. That's his main thing. And he's got this 50 acres that he owns with horses and these like glamping units. The glamping units aren't really anything that's special per se, but the fact that they have the horse experience and the fact that you can ride the horses. He talks about how you can call the horses, how you can basically interact with these animals in a way where you're learning and you're growing and it's something that you cannot get anywhere else, right? It's not just a cookie cutter single family home. You have this full camping experience. And what he's building is these barndominiums where he's going to have ranchers and he's going to really try to expand this experiential stay, which is really cool. He's got a really cool vision for it. But I applaud somebody like him because it's an experiential thing, right? The horse aspect of things is so interesting and it's something that's unique to that area. And I'm telling you right now, Ben, being on that horse and riding off into the sunset, like quite literally, felt like a Disney movie. I felt like Prince Charming on a freaking horse, like riding off in the sunset. It was so spiritually, I don't know. It was so unreal. But that's like something that people are willing to pay more money for, right? So I definitely resonate with that, with what you're talking about.
Yeah, 100%. It doesn't always have to be in these one-of-a-kind units that you're building. We do that. I think there's a lot of value in building stays that are just frictionless and all the comforts of home and then some, and like inspiring, like the place that you're actually sleeping and staying. Like I love that. But I think that you can create these amazing experiential properties based on other premises. Like the units might be okay, but it's more about something else, right? It's more about the landscape and the views. It's more about the horses. It's more about the culinary experience, right? I think there's a number of different ways that you can provide something that's very unique and differentiated.
So Ben, I'm going to get into the last three questions because let's close this off here. The first thing is I'm just going to ask you, I was going to ask everybody what their favorite book is, but let's just say favorite book, favorite movie, favorite inspirational thing that helped you in your life. Do you have anything?
Yeah, it's interesting. I would actually say super early on, I think my dad gave me the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I always think of that book. I think it really set me off on this path of how do I rally the troops and create a vision and get buy-in and help create a team that can row in the same direction to build that vision. I think a lot of it comes down to things that I learned from that book and learned in building relationships and connecting with people and building trust on both sides in a relationship quickly. I think it's a superpower of mine, I would say. So probably that book's been the most influential, just 'cause it was so early on. And it's the things that I learned there have just evolved so much and compounded.
It's funny. That's my favorite, my number one book ever. I just love that book.
It's crazy, right? It's a classic, right?
It's a classic, but it's timeless. It's psychology of humans. It doesn't change, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, damn. Cool. So with that, I'm going to ask you, if you had unlimited money, right? And I'm just telling you right now, Ben, you have unlimited money. You could build whatever the hell you want, wherever the hell you want it. What are you building? What is it? Where are you building it? Just talk me through this.
To be completely honest with you, man, I'm trying to build it right now in South Florida. That's what I'm trying to build with Oasi in South Florida right now. Outside of that, look, I think that I didn't go into the details. Space is interesting. I've heard a lot of people talk about that. I think there's so much beauty in the world and there's so many experiences and hospitality concepts that haven't been rolled out here. I don't know. For me, I don't need to go to space, right, in order to achieve something that is just otherworldly, right? But yeah, and I didn't even fully get into some of the concepts that we're trying to roll out with this South Florida resort. But just to give you an idea, we have one of our units it's inspired by the cherimoya fruit. So it's this elevated treehouse bungalow with a honeycomb exterior and a sort of heart-rounded shape. And it's got this suspended hot tub and built-in hammock. And it's literally like a fruit treehouse bungalow that is luxury. And our second unit type we call the greenhouse grotto. And so we have a private grotto for each unit. Okay, and the unit itself is beautiful, modern, floor-to-ceiling glass window, massive, dramatic high ceilings on the backside facing the grotto, and we have this green roof that flows over onto this green siding, so the unit just blends right into the jungle. Private grotto off the back, recirculating stream that goes around and underneath the unit with a transparent flooring, so you can actually see the water flowing beneath you. So right now, this is what's inspiring me, right? To go out there and build something amazing, and that's what's top of mind. I'm sure that, look, okay, if money wasn't an issue, maybe we would build it literally on the ocean, like hanging over, but that's also been done before. So I don't know. I think we're doing something pretty unique and interesting.
Yeah, I love that. So last question: what does the future hold for Ben? Just what's going on? What are you really looking forward to, other than the Miami hotel, of course?
Yeah, so we want to roll out more of these just unbelievable landscape resort concepts, a little more catered to groups, more amenities. I'm working on getting this piece of property under contract. We already have part of the property I want under contract in Central Texas, in this area called Devil's Backbone. And it is some of the most incredible views that you've ever seen, the best views in Central Texas, and maybe West Texas might rival them, but some of the best in the state. Just layered. You can't see any houses or water towers or anything for miles and miles as you're looking into this canyon with these dramatic rolling hills in the background. And the cool thing is, it's only an hour from Austin, it's an hour from San Antonio, and we're going to bring some of these amazing landscape hotel style units to the market. So some of them will be built into the hillside. Some of them will be more of a pod style, more of that curvilinear architecture that we like a lot. A unit that's really geared around stargazing that we're calling the Stargazer. That and the Miami hotel are probably what I'm most excited about from a property perspective. And then the media side of our business. We're rolling out a how to build a glamping resort, how to build a landscape hotel ebook, and with some video modules that we're largely going to be giving away for free, at least the vast majority of it, if not the whole thing, as we continue to try to build our audience, build our authority in the space. And yeah, we'll see where that goes.
So great follow-up on that. If people want to reach you about that guide or anything else that you're talking about in the future and follow you along this journey or ask you any questions, how can people reach you?
Yeah, so I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, Ben Wolff, Wolff. You just search for me and Ben Wolff Onera. I'm sure I'll pop right up. So follow me. You can shoot me a connection request as well. I'm also on Twitter at Unique Stays Guy. So those are probably the two platforms I'm most active on. So check me out at either of those. And yeah, would love to connect.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much, Ben. We're going to link those in the description below. But thanks for hopping on and sharing your wisdom and everything. I'm excited for you, man. And keep crushing it. So talk to you later.
And that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to the Patrick Real Estate Show. If you found this episode helpful, please give us a follow and leave us a 5-star review. Your support truly means a lot. And connect with Patrick in the show notes below. Until next time.